Guys, it's Sarah, and I am here with another page kit. And this one is going to be about taking my girls to see my old dorm room when I lived in my sorority house. And over the summer, we took the girls over to Pensacola, which is where my husband and I went to college and met, and kind of showed them around the campus and, showed them some of the buildings we took classes in. And one of those was the dorms where I actually lived. Um, and so it was pretty cool. So this one is going to work nicely because it has kind of a homey feel, and I had that house there that is like a large wood veneer piece, and so that's going to go really nicely. And that's what gave me the idea to do this one because I lived in that dorm, so it's like I called that home for a while. And so the roosters kind of cracked me up a little bit. Now, I didn't want to cover them up too much. I was starting to do some things, and then I was like, no, I'm covering up the roosters. I don't want to cover them up too much. I want to have at least a couple of them showing. And the reason is because, um, it doesn't really have anything to do with my sorority, but I always make a joke about, groups of women being cackling hens, and we definitely were. So, like, cackling hens, why not? Even though they're roosters, it's totally fine. Um, So, yeah, I'm making it work on this one. I'm going through my little piece here, my little stuff, and I'm going to pull a couple things. I think I use like a craft strip somewhere, and then I'm going to cut out a couple pieces from this little cut apart sheet. I'm cutting out a couple of sentiments that I can use because the color goes really, really nicely. And I believe that's all I end up using out of there, but I did use a couple things, so that's good. And I think I use a lot out of this kit. I don't think I use completely everything, but a lot of it I do. Um, I really like the kind of vintage feel that this has, even though, like, I graduated in 2002, so it's not a vintagey type of layout necessarily, but it has a very homey feel, which, I lived on that campus for most of my college career, so it was nice. But I have this little piece here where I'm going to do my journaling, and I'm going to go ahead and do my title. Now, I have two options for thickers here. Let me tell you about these thickers because Carmen, if you're watching, I love you so. So my friend Carmen, I had posted something in, I think, a group where I complained that I was looking for, thickers in certain colors, and I just couldn't find anything. All I could find was like black and white and gold. And like, I had a hard time finding red and orange and green and, you know, like the bright colors like that. And I was complaining because I really couldn't find anything online and I just didn't understand, like why there was such, like, just not very many options. And so Carmen is someone who I have gone to the Victoria Marie scrapbook retreat with. And she ended up sending me a huge package of thickers in all those different colors that I talked about. And I mean, I'm not kidding you. She sent me probably 20 packs of thickers. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And so I messaged her and I yelled at her. And she laughed and said, "No, I saw your thing and, this didn't even make a dent in my thickers. I just have so much." And she was so incredibly generous, and those both of the thickers that I was looking at there both came from her. So I had options right now because, that color just goes perfectly. So I have yelled at her for doing that, but I really appreciated it. So thank you again, Carmen. You're wonderful. Okay, so I'm adding some lace ribbon here that I had pulled for this, and I like the way that it just finishes the edges there. And then I added a little bit of a square doily. I didn't use the whole thing, but it's just kind of peeking out. And then I have this tag here that I'm going to put underneath my journaling spot. It's going to be kind of like a layer here. I really like the way this ends up looking. So I have my title on a little strip there. I have my tag. I have my journal spot and then the house. And I really, really like the way that this just kind of naturally came together here. And then I have a rose gold little floral piece on the other side there, which is nice. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put that down. And then I have a couple of chipboard pieces here that I'm just going to kind of fiddle around with, and everything just came together so incredibly nicely. It was ridiculous. Like, it was definitely one of those things where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, and I'm done. It was so fast, and just everything was perfect. It was really, really great. So, um, yeah, that's really it. And it was really cool to see the girls, standing in front of the dorm where, like, I lived for so long, and this was like way before I even met Josh. I hadn't even known him at this point. I didn't meet him until I moved off campus, but yeah, it was pretty cool just to be back in that environment. And those dorms are now empty. The buildings are too old for anyone to live in them anymore, but most of the Greek houses were all in one kind of section on campus, and we all lived in these dorms. So I'm actually standing outside of my door where I would go in and out, and I lived, like, if you're looking at the picture, I lived in the upper right hand room. There's 4 rooms in that little quad area right there, and I lived in the upper right hand one. So it was pretty cool, and there's still, like, sorority stuff all over it, even though the dorms are empty now, but they haven't taken them down or anything, so it's pretty cool. And okay, so now I'm just adding on the finishing touches here. I'm fussy cutting out these little pieces that I cut from that little 6x6 piece of pattern paper. And I'm going to put those around, and I just like that little pop of almost a mustard yellow, I would say, is that color. And then I have these enamel, they're not enamel, these are like pearl dots almost. So they're like enamel dots, but they're pearls, and that's what they look like when you look on them. And I think that adds to kind of the vintagey feel of it as well. It just goes so nicely. One of them came off the adhesive, so I'm just going to toss that one. I'm not going to worry about trying to fix it or anything. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my journaling over here and just talk about how cool it was to show the girls the campus and where I lived, and they loved it, and all that kind of stuff. And definitely brought up some memories for me and Josh, because that's where we met, and that's where we basically fell in love. So it was great to kind of go down that memory road, all that good stuff. But all right, so that's going to be it for me. I have some close-ups coming up here for you. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.